Guys, this is Sergeant Phoenix back in the action, and today we're on deck profiling on a character who actually has got a good deck for both seasons of 5Ds and Arc 5. That is not Jack Atlas. Crow Hogan, if that's how it's pronounced. And this is his Blackwing deck, which has both the 5Ds and the Arc 5 together. So, as usual, it starts off with monsters, spells, traps, and then we go on to the extra deck. So, let's go. So, first is Blackwing Go Through the Varg Shadow. And this card and this is a tuner. It cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand while you control no monsters. When this card is special summon, it lets you summon 2 Vague Shadow tokens, which is the same type as this, same attribute, but 1 level and with 0 attack and defense, but they can't be tributed or used for synchro summoning. Just double checking that's true. And synchro, yeah, can't be used as synchro materials. You can banish this card though, and one or more, which means more than one, face up non-tuner you control. Then target a Blackwing synchro monster in your graveyard whose level is equal to that of those banished monsters that you had on the field, and if special summon it if you do. And this is treated as a tuner. So let's say your opponent found a way to negate its effects. If you had, let's say, a level 7 tuner, if you had you could summon a level 7 or whatever level you could summon depending on what you had. Next we have Blackwing Elven the Raven. If you control a face-up Blackwing monster, you can normal summon this card without tributing, reason being it's a level 6. And when this card is normal summoned, you can change the battle position of one of monster your opponent controls. So attack to defense or defense to attack. Next, Blackwing Gilby the 7 Searing Wind. When your opponent declares an attack, a direct one, so if you have no monsters to declare a direct attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. Once per turn, you can switch the original attack and defense of this card until the end of this turn, because it has 0 attack, but 1600 defense. So in case you last turn inflict like 200 points of damage to your opponent, and that monster's defense can do it, pretty much, that's what it can be for. Next we have one of the known ones that was used against Team Ragnarok, Blackwing Garma the Haze, I believe it was. During your opponent's battle phase, if you control no monsters, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a synchro monster in your graveyard, special summon that target, but banish it at the end of the battle phase. And this is a quick effect, so it doesn't matter when. Next we have Blackwing Tornado the Reverse Wind. When this card is normal summoned while your opponent controls a special summon monster, you can target a Blackwing Tuner monster in your graveyard. You cannot special summon monsters from your extra deck for the rest of the turn except Blackwing Synchros. Also special summon that monster when it what effects are negated. Next we have Blackwing Decay of Illwind, and this is a tuner. I believe no, that one wasn't. Once per turn during your end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you take 1000 points. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can target a Blackwing monster you control and use one of these effects. You can either increase or decrease its level by 1. And this only works once per turn, one of these effects. Next we have DD Crow. And this is a quick level 1 dark attribute. They're all winged beasts, so there's no point saying they're winged beasts. They're all dark attributes, so they're all winged beasts. And this is a quick effect. You can discard this card to the graveyard, then target 1 card in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. So in case they use Monster Reborn, you can stop them from using it. Next we have 2. Blackwing Shura the Blue Flame. When this card destroys an opponent's monster at battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Blackwing monster with 1500 or less attack from the deck. That monster's effects are negated though. Next we have 3 Blackwing Oster the Southwind, and these are tuners. Cannot be special summoned, but when it is normal summoned, you can target one of your banished level 4 lower Blackwing monsters, special summon it in defense mode. You can banish this card from the graveyard though to activate one of these effects. Place black feather counters on one Blackwing dragon you control, equal to the number of cards your opponent controls. So let's say your opponent had 3 cards, it will give it 3 counters. Next, place 1 wedge counter on each face-up monster your opponent controls that does not have one. And the reason it has the counters on Blackwing Dragon we'll explain later due to its effect. Next we have 3 Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. If this card is in your graveyard, you can return 1 face-up card you control to the hand, special summon this card, and if you do, take 400 points of damage. You can only activate this effect though once per turn. Next we have 3 Blackwing Brisot the Tailwind. If 2 or more Blackwing monsters you control are destroyed in the same turn, so let's say your opponent used Mirror Force or Lightning Rod to destroy 2 monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, you gain 600 life points. So it's a decent card to have. Next we have 3 Blackwing Orochi the Squill, and these are tuners. If you control Blackwing monster other than this one, you can special summon it from your hand, and you can only activate this one once per turn this way. If this card is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, you can target a monster on the field and change its battle position. So just in case, let's say you had a monster that was in attack, but you need it in defense, just do that. Next, 3 Blackwing Borer the Spheres, which is also, and I know these ones are from 5D. If you control a Blackwing monster other than Blackwing Borer the Sphere, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if it attacks a defense monster, it inflicts piercing battle damage. Next to our spell cards. Solidarity. So if you have only 1 original printed type of your monster in your graveyard, face monsters you control with the same type, gain 800 attack. That's how it's read, not me. Synchro Cracker. Target 1 synchro monster you control, return it to the extra deck, and if you do, destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls with attack equal or less to that synchro monster's original attack. Next, Monster Reborn, as everyone, and if you don't know what it is, you're not a duelist. Next, Allure of Darkness. This is almost like Pot of Greed. You get to draw 2 cards, but unlike Pot of Greed, you have to banish a dark attribute from your hand, and if you don't, your entire hand goes to the graveyard. So it's like the unfair version of Pot of Greed, unless you have a card. Unless you need cards that need banishing, that are mostly dark attributes. Next we have 3 Black Whirlwinds. When a Blackwing monster is normal summoned on your field, you can add 1 Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand with attack less than that monster. Next we have 2 Glowing Crossbow. You can only equip these to Blackwing monsters. They gain 500 attack and defense. You can only use this effect though of it once per turn. If the equipped monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard, because the equipped monster was used for a synchro material, you can add this card from the graveyard to your hand. And you could probably equip it again, if I'm correct. Next we have 2, now we're on traps, 2 Blackbird Close. And I like the design of this because it looks like Crow when he has his Jewel Runner and with the wings spreading out. When a monster your opponent controls activates its effect, you can send one face-up Blackwing monster you control to the graveyard. Negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Then you can special summon a Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck. If you control a Blackwing Synchro monster or Blackwing Dragon, you can activate this card's effect from your hand. Next we have 2 Delta Crow Anti-Reverse, which again is a really good design. If you control a Blackwing monster, destroy all face down spell and trap cards your opponent controls. If you control exactly 3 Blackwing monsters, you can activate this effect from your hand. So it doesn't matter which 3, you can pretty much use it. Next we have Urgent Synchro and Synchro Strike. Urgent Synchro, it's like Xyz's Wonder except for Synchro summoning. And Synchro Strike, target 1 Synchro summoned monster and it'll gain 500 attack per monster used to Synchro summon it. And I should explain though the difference though between it. During a battle phase, actually, immediately after this effect resolves, Synchro summon a Synchro monster using monsters you control. There would have to be a tuner though. Now we are on the extra deck. And this is where the deck is focused on more than anything. The Synchros. And the first card is the signature. 3 Blackwing Dragons. And this card was earned. Crow got this from a friend. And he decided to keep it and used it in Season 2. Oh, before he had it in Season 2, he used it usually Black Armoured. It was Blackwing Armoured, I believed it was, if I can check. Yeah, Blackwing Armoured Master. That was mostly the card he used. We all thought that was his signature until Blackwing Dragon came out. So, Blackwing Dragon's effect. If you would take battle damage from a card effect, you can place a Black Feather counter on this card instead. This card does lose 700 though per the counter, and once per turn, you can remove all these counters from this card, target a monster your opponent controls, and that monster will lose the 700 points, and also your opponent takes that damage. And this actually helps in the end of Season 2 of 5Ds. If you don't know how, you need to watch it straight away. It's when it's the final duel of Team 5Ds versus Team New World. Next we have Black Feather Dark Rage Dragon. And once per turn, if you take battle damage, you can send up to 5 cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard. And then if any monsters were sent to the graveyard by this effect, this card gains 400 attack. Next, like I mentioned, the signature we all thought were the signature. Blackwing Armoured Master. And this does need a Blackwing tuner, so that's why it's used in the deck. And you don't see it usually used in other decks. If this card cannot be destroyed in battle, you take no battle damage involving this card. If this card attacks a monster, you can place a wedge counter on it. Place a wedge counter on that monster at the end of the damage step. You can remove all wedge counters from your opponent's monsters to reduce all their attack and defense of each monster that had the wedges to 0. So let's say I went against 5-headed dragon and I had this card. Nothing happens to me, but if I control another monster, let's say one of the weakest black feathers had like 500 attack, I can use the wedge counter to weaken 5-headed dragon to 0 attack and use that one to destroy it. So it is a good card to have. Next we have 2 Blackwing Armed Wings. And this is a decent card, I would say. It needs a Blackwing tuner as well. If this card attacks a defense monster, it gains 500 attack during the damage step only. Also inflicts piercing damage to your opponent. So it's a decent card to have if you want to build a Blackwing deck. Next we have Blackwing Grain the Shining Star. Must first be synchro summoned. When this card is synchro summoned, you can special summon a level 4 lower non-tuner Blackwing monster from your hand, but its effects are negated. So let's say you want to summon Blackwing Dragon easier. This is pretty much a good way to do it. Next we have Blackwing Silverwing the Ascendant. And this also needs a Blackwing tuner, but it needs 2 more, or 2 more. Oh no, it doesn't have, yeah, it does need 2 more. I was unfortunately reading it, I misread it. And when this card is synchro summoned, you can target up to 2 face-up monsters on the field with defense lower than this card's attack. Destroy those targets. You can't attack though this turn, the turn you activate this. During each of your opponent's turns though, the first Blackwing monster you control that would be destroyed by battle is not destroyed. So if you have this along with like Blackwing Dragon and you manage to make a combo with a few of these cards, you could practically build a pretty good strategy. Next we have the rest of the gang. And this is the Art Vibe ones, as I know, because I know on the Art Vibe they had Assault Blackwings. I decided to add these in. We decided to add these into the decks, for it, because the Art Vibe was. I don't know how to describe it. It was all right. The decks were all right though. They did add more support and they gave more structure than most of the decks did in 5Ds. Like Jack Atlas's, and I'll explain why when I do the next deck profile on him. Because I'll show you the difference between his 5Ds and his Scarlight, his Red Dragon Archfiend deck, and his Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend deck. So first we have Assault Blackwing Shauna the Rainstorm. And this doesn't need a Blackwing tuner, it just says a tuner. If this card is synchro summoned using a Blackwing monster as a material, it is treated as a tuner while face up on the field. You can only activate this effect though once per turn. And once per turn, when this card is synchro summoned, you can target 1 Assault Blackwing monster in your graveyard. Special summon it. During your main phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent this turn, you can banish 1 other Assault Wing, like this, from your graveyard. Special summon this card. Next we have Assault Blackwing Chiroda, I can't pronounce it, Chidori the Rain Sparkling. And when this card is synchro summoned using a black one, it's treated as a tuner as well. I think they all have this effect. Yeah, all of them have the same effect. When a Blackwing monster is used for synchro summoning these, they all become tuners as well. It's treated. This card gains 300 attack for each Blackwing monster in your graveyard. When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Blackwing, 1 Winged Beast type synchro monster in your graveyard, except this one, special summon it. Next we have Assault Blackwing Rakiri the Rain Shower. I'm skipping the tune a bit. Once per turn, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of Blackwing monsters you control. Destroy them. And here is the all-powerful one. Onimaru the Divine Thunder. Yeah, this card, I'm skipping the tune a bit, cannot be destroyed in battle. You can target 1 Blackwing monster in your graveyard. This card's level becomes the same as that monster's. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per duel, sorry. If this card that was synchro summoned using only synchro monsters attacks, this card gains 3,000 attack during the damage step only. So it can go up to 6,000. And that's it for Crow's Blackwing deck. I think this is a good deck. Art Vibe, like I've said, Art Vibe was good, and they did that, but the dubs and they did do the dub voice alright. like they did in 5Ds. The only thing I liked about Art Vibe was the decks. They gave new supports, they gave new combinations and structures with new decks, and that's what was good about it. Most of the dub was terrible, mostly because of the names and the way they sounded, like Declan. He sounded like he needed cough serum all of his laugh. And Zark sounded like Gollum or Smeagol off Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, which makes me laugh, because I'm waiting for him to say, "My precious." But other than that, this is a good deck. I'll show, like I have mentioned minutes ago, the difference between 5Ds and Art Vibe's decks of Jack Atlas. And the reason being are the tuners and the resignators. And that will be what you learn the difference of, which I think why the Art Vibe deck is better than the 5Ds deck. I'll always like 5Ds better than Art Vibe, but the Art Vibe deck was is kind of better than 5Ds. So until then, this is Sergeant Phoenix, over and out.